All right. So I am always so excited when I get to chat with my friend Ashley tonight. She and I met through Instagram a couple of years ago, and we've just kind of joined forces at different times together. She's been with Plexus at least as long as I have, at least 7 or 8 years, right, Ashley? Um, she can,
9 years next month.
oh, we're gonna be celebrating your 10 year. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy how time flies? And one of the things that I have always admired about her is just her tenacity and her ability to just continue to do this business with positivity and to stay the course no matter how many ups and downs it's thrown at her. And if you listen to her several months back and if you're on her team, you know this. If you listen to her a couple months back when we kind of did a call similar to this, she shared a little bit of her story. And she may share a little bit of that tonight, just kind of intermixed as we go. But she really has just been always one of those people who, no matter where my head's at in this, I can always count on her to just kind of remind me that we're in this for the long game and to stay the course and to stay positive, and to just be tenacious after this thing. And she's just always kind of been a steady, and I just love that about her. So we thought it might be helpful tonight just to kind of go back and forth. And I'd love for any of the other jewels who are on this call tonight to just kind of jump in. Rebecca, Stephanie, Suzanne, I see some of y'all on here, Noelle. This can totally be kind of a back and forth, kind of laid back conversation. Um, so y'all feel free to break in at any point, but really just wanted to share some encouragement with y'all tonight and some practical tips too, but really just some encouragement for how to not only get your mind right to create a legacy business with this, but how to play the long game. Because that's really where the magic of this is, knowing that you're in this for the long game, and that's going to require some grit and tenacity from you, and some very real like mental action from you. So we wanted to encourage y'all in that, kind of knowing that up front. And we're just going to kind of jump in and volley back and forth. So if y'all have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll try to grab those as we go, or kind of do that at the end. Would love for this to be interactive. So Jules, like I said, feel free to chime in, drop your questions in the chat, and we're just going to get right down to it: how to build a legacy business and how to stay in this for the long game. So both of us have been with Plexus for 8 years plus. My 8 year anniversary will be this May. And I feel like one of the things I've reflected on quite a bit is I've seen a lot of people come and go over the years. I've seen a lot of people start, have some success, and quit. I've seen people give up after hitting six figures and beyond in this. And one of the things I've reflected on is really, how do you stay motivated and how do you stay consistent as an entrepreneur when nobody is clocking you in, when nobody's cheering you on in the valleys, when the rest of your team is checked out and nobody's going to notice, when nobody is telling you or giving you a checklist to complete. How do you stay motivated and consistent and keep showing up when there's not always somebody else to show up for? So Ashley, I'm going to let you kind of jump in and kind of give your take on this first, and then I'll share a little bit on that. And again, if anybody, wants to unmic and share a little bit of wisdom in that too, we'd love to hear from you too.
Okay, that is the hardest thing in the world, right? Staying motivated. And it's always so short-lived. We go to convention, we go on these trips, we get on a really great call, we read a book, we hear some podcast, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so motivated. I feel so good, right? And then we get our period and we're no longer motivated. Like, it's me. That's what happens to me. And so y'all, it has been 9 years for me. Lauren Warren, quit laughing at me, girl. You should know by now. Anyway, it's been 9 years for me. And so it is, it is just a roller coaster. It has been a roller coaster of points and people and all the things. And um, I forgot husbands might be listening in, but yeah, it is a roller coaster. And so you cannot ride motivation very far. You have to learn your habits and your disciplines. And that is the hardest thing. And I'm not coming at you as an expert in that. I just know for me, when I've had seasons of growth and when I've had seasons of like, I can do this and I'm seeing the right people join me and I'm feeling that momentum hit, it is when I've decided, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what's going on, I have habits and disciplines in place that keep me moving forward, even when life gets hard, because life does get hard and life will derail you. And if that happens, not if, when that happens, because it will, here's what I will say. You may slow down for a minute. You may need to catch your breath. You may not be feeling it at all. And I think that I've been in seasons like that where I could have quit after that. Like I had to slow down, life interrupted me. But what I decided to do, thank God, even though I wanted to quit so many times, and y'all, I'm just brutally honest. So I'm sorry. I know some people wouldn't admit that they've ever wanted to quit Plexus, but if you are a human being and you do this long enough, you will have a moment where you are like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. So I'm just gonna be honest with you. That moment will come, and I'm just thankful in that moment. For some reason, God protected me and did not allow me to quit, even when I wanted to. So I just will say, when those moments happen, just make your decision, right? Make
Right.
your decision in advance that regardless of what walks into your life, you have a vision for this business and what it can do for you, and you are going to stick with it, even if you need to catch your breath, even if you want to quit. You've already made the decision, so don't quit. That's what I got.
Sorry, I can't even unmute. That's just the most relatable thing I've ever heard. And I so echo that sentiment. You are not always going to be motivated. I think there's a quote out there that says this, you must learn to be disciplined. And for me, like these are guardrails that I've set up in my life. It's almost like anticipating that you are not always going to be motivated, especially like given the fact that we're entrepreneurs. Like literally nobody care. Like nobody is checking on me to make sure I'm posting in stories every day. Nobody is checking on me to make sure that I'm sending out my invites and that I'm checking on my customers. It literally all falls on your shoulders. And that feels really daunting sometimes. So one of the things that was really important for me is just like setting up these, like kind of like you said, Ashley, these habits and these guardrails that no matter what's going on in my life, and there have absolutely been seasons where I've had to take a step back from Plexus. Like, what are the things that I'm going to keep doing to make sure that I'm still in the game, to make sure that I'm not checked out completely? Because it's a lot harder when you completely step away from your team, from your business, from social media for 6 months, and then you try to come back to it. It's so much harder than if you have set up some of these guardrails. And these are some of the guardrails for me. And some of these are mental guardrails, some of these are physical. For me, it's always coming back to my why and like remembering, why did I start this in the first place? And if that why like lights you up inside, are you going to let it die? Or maybe are you going to let it like simmer down? Like maybe you need to just have like burning coals sometimes, but do not let the why go out. Like, are you going to do what's necessary to keep the coals burning so that when life slows down a little bit, by the way, it's never going to slow down. But once you get back to that space that Ashley was talking about, like you can pour a little gasoline, you can put a little kindling on the fire and it's going to come back up. So really keeping that why at the forefront and keeping at least a little bit in the game is so helpful. Another thing for me is kind of like you said, like you're never going to feel motivated all the time, but you have to seek inspiration. And that's one of the next questions we're gonna kind of get into, like, where do you seek daily motivation? Because there is an element of continuing to motivate yourself and purposefully inspiring yourself to continue to take action, because you can't just keep pulling dead weight behind you without a goal and without some kind of initiative to move forward. So inspiring yourself is really important. And for me, that's paying attention to who's pouring into my life, like who are the people I'm surrounding myself with, who am I listening to, what resources am I purposefully taking in, and just being really cognizant on that. And then I think the last one is just getting really crystal clear on your actionables. And some of y'all are in our story challenge that we started yesterday. And that's just really a way for us to kind of reduce some friction and have some no-brainer story prompts so that we can be consistent in sharing stories. And to me, that's like getting clear on your actionable. I didn't feel like getting up and sharing about the pink drink this morning, but I had a clear plan of exactly what I was going to do, and it was easy for me to put it up. So having those clear actionables and knowing exactly what you're going to do, even on those days where you don't feel motivated, has really been big for me, and just kind of having those guardrails kind of in place. Okay, so kind of in that same vein, Ashley, what are some things, talking about like pouring kindling on the fire and continuing to inspire yourself, what are some things that you're intentionally listening to right now, or maybe some things in the past that have been motivating and inspiring to you? Like, what are some things that you're doing behind the scenes to continue to do that, to keep you on the straight and narrow and to keep you motivated?
For sure. Okay. And I do want to piggyback off one thing you said about your why. Your why is so important, but I would say also very important before I answer that question is, not just having a strong why, but believing that Plexus is that vehicle. because sometimes I see this a lot. People have a very strong reason that they need to make extra money, but they are riding too many horses. They are looking for a lot of different options. And instead of getting really, really focused, and I have been guilty of this, right? We probably all have, because especially now with all these things trending on social media and all the different ways to make money. And y'all, I have tried a lot of them. I have tried a lot of them. I am like a very curious little hustler, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could do this or that or the other. And I am telling you, I've tried affiliate links, I've had a YouTube channel, and I've enjoyed all the things I've done. But nothing has ever made me as much money as Plexus has made me in a relatively short period of time with not nearly the same amount of effort. And so if you are just sitting here like, I have got to make some money and I know exactly why I need to make this money, but you're not really focusing on the one very amazing vehicle that is already in your lap and you're not stewarding that well, I would just encourage you to get really, really focused on the right vehicle. Okay, stepping off the soapbox, and now I'm going to answer your question.
Can I just
Yes.
back on that? I had this conversation with my husband just a little bit ago. If y'all follow me on social media, I shared an Amazon link about this cup yesterday. Did anybody see it? I
Yeah.
got 2,500 comments about this stupid cup. Okay.
Holy-
2,500. Do you know how much money I made off this cup yesterday? Somebody
Not
drop it in the comments. Somebody just make a guess in the comments. Who could tell me? $10, $100? No. I made $32 on this cup yesterday. 2,500 comments, y'all. 2,500. I can't, like, it blew my mind last night. It absolutely blew my mind. And if that doesn't like light you on fire for Plexus, I don't know what will. I look at these Amazon girls out there who are hustling. I mean, let me tell you something. Those girls who are doing the Amazon links, they are hustling. They are hustling. They're bringing in an exorbitant amount of product to their house. They're returning it. They are hustling for pennies, y'all. What we
Yep.
have is, it is gold. And I just want to say that 2,500 comments, $30. That's what we've got.
And think about it. If you are a brand new brand ambassador with Plexus and you get you fast start, get your first 3 customers, you basically get paid $100 per customer. Think about that. It is not going to happen anywhere else. So I am just saying that because social media right now is bright, shiny object after bright, shiny object. And you have got to make up your mind. This is it. This is what I'm doing. This is my business. I am focused. I am laser focused. Not saying like some of y'all work other full-time jobs. Not saying you cannot divide your focus in some way, but just guard your business, because when you are divided, you will not succeed. So you've got to really have that belief solidified. Like Chelsea was saying, the inspiration, where do I find that? I personally am a reader. I love to read, and I know a lot of people love podcasts, and I do listen to podcasts some, but I pretty much have to have a podcast recommended to me. I'm not like super faithful to any one podcast, but I love to sit with like a book and a highlighter and just read it. But some books that have really, really helped me are Alter Ego is a book by Craig Rochelle. It's not specific to network marketing, but it's just about your identity. And I am a more anxious bend type person. And so I have to really, really constantly preach the right things to myself. And I find a lot of books that help with that and a lot of different people that help with that. And that is a really good book. Atomic Habits is a really good book. I've read it twice. I need to read it again because we still have not quite got that ingrained, but that is a good one. I will tell you this. If you go on YouTube and you find some Plexus girls, there is Chelsea, do you know what that is? It's Andrea Mitchell's YouTube channel. Do you know what that's called? It's like you guys could probably just search Plexus Andrea Mitchell. She has a really cute name for it. Maybe it's like it's called Mastermind or something. I don't know. But there are so many good trainings on there. She's brought in a lot of, and Trisha, a really good friend of mine in Chelsea, we have like a little trio going on. But Trisha did a training on there that was just very practical. If you ever find a training that Trisha has done, you're going to get very practical, specific like action step things. And so she will rub off on you in a really good way. But I think just here's the thing, if you're struggling to find motivation and inspiration and the discipline, you guys have got to plug in. The people who plug in are the people who go. The people who don't show up for stuff or are inconsistent and they're not plugging in. We have a community here that you are a part of, that you are invited to be a part of. And when people in your community are signing new customers and they are ranking up, that will rub off on you. You will start to get better. And there are people all on this Zoom call I'm seeing that know what they're doing and know how to go out and get a new customer and know how to develop a leader and know how to make social media posts. And you guys plugging in and being a part of the community consistently is going to help you stay motivated and stay disciplined. So that would be the biggest thing. And for me in the beginning of my business, that was the game changer for me, was that I really needed friends. Truly, I needed people. And so finding a community in Plexus, it's just been the best gift. I mean, truly, it has been life-changing for me, and it has brought the best friendships and people into my life. And if you don't get much else out of Plexus, you just meeting amazing people that will love on you. We just prayed for Chandra at the beginning of this call because we love her and we want her to be okay. And it's not about whether Chandra makes money with Plexus or not. We want her healthy and we want her happy. And that is a beautiful gift. So I just encourage y'all to not look at the Zoom calls and not look at the things that people, not looking at it as a burden and another thing on your to-do list, but really looking at it as the gift that it is. And as a side benefit, you can make a lot of money with Plexus, but the friendships are priceless.
There's so many like intangibles that I never imagined when I started this business. And I have a little bit to say about plugging into the community in just a minute, but I think that like giving yourself that inspiration and seeking out that inspiration and plugging in, like that's one of the areas that people drastically underestimate in this business and really drastically underestimate the power of that step. When we talk about like minding your mindset, I feel like we hear so much, and that can even be a buzzword sometimes. It's like mind your mindset and, do the mindset work. Like, what does that actually look like? To me, it looks like intentionally pouring in, because you are going to come against some voices and some outsiders who aren't encouraging you, who are dissing on what this is or putting you down for doing this business. But to me, honestly, those are not the most dangerous voices. Those are easy for me to kind of tune out and realize that we're not in alignment together. But to me, the most dangerous type of voices or non-voices are the apathetic ones. And just kind of falling in that trap of telling yourself that, I'll just kind of cruise and kind of see what happens and see if this opens up for me. It's like, no, like if you are not pouring gasoline on your own fire as an entrepreneur, you are doing yourself such a disservice. And not even that, like you are digging your own grave. You have got to be pouring in. You have got to have a lineup. And this is what works for me. And I love that Ashley can dig into a physical book. I haven't read a physical book in probably 3 years. I'm an audiobook podcast kind of girl. You've got to have a lineup of something that is going to pour into you. For me, it's podcasts and audiobooks that are going to light me up and tell me that I can do this and give me the mental motivation and inspiration that I need to keep going, that are going to grow my skill set, that are going to grow my capacity, that are going to grow my toolbox, that are going to grow my ability to lead and to pour out. It is absolutely essential to your success. Like there's no way around it. I don't know any jewels in this business who are not doing that daily or weekly. And just a couple of my favorites, and I can type these out in the chat too. I have Ed Milet on a repeat. I mean, I listen to his podcast weekly. Alex Hormozy is another good one. Just beware, don't listen to him around your kids, lots of language, but you just kind of pull out the truths and pull out what's there. The People's Mentor with Jessie Lee is really great. She actually passed a couple of months ago, but still such a great network marketing podcast. I echo what you said. I love Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast. That's such a good one. Leadership is a great one. That's by Brittany Howard. She's a diamond and she does a great podcast. On Instagram, I follow Daniel G. He's another one. Don't listen to him unmuted around your kids. Kristen Boss, No Shame Sales Game. Again, mute. But the Ambition Coalition is another good one. Rebecca Folks and Melissa Eichenhorst are two diamonds who have put together a new Instagram account. And I'm not saying that I don't get on Instagram to scroll those people, but those are people that when I see them in my feed, I'm liking their stuff because that's the kind of stuff I want coming up in my feed. That's the kind of positive thinking, and you can do this coming up in my feed. Um, and I'll also echo what Ashley said. Check your circle in real life too. Like, who are you allowing access into your inner thoughts? Are you constantly listening to the friend who rolls her eyes at MLMs, or the two girls in your mom's group who are negative Nellies? I want you to become aware of who you give your ear to and purposefully change those circles. And this is not something that I'm just saying. This is something that I have absolutely had to do the hard work of doing. I've had to slowly slide out of very close friendships in the past 8 years because I realized that they wanted me to stay stuck where I was because it made them feel comfortable. And this is, this might ruffle some feathers, but I'm here to challenge you, not only just in Plexus, but in your real life. If your friends are not asking you about your business, or they are not cheering you on for whatever it is that you're doing in life, you need to ask yourself if they're actually your friends. Like, maybe they're super insecure and maybe they're having their own issues to deal with, but maybe you need to level up your friendships. And like Ashley said, while you're doing that, while you're sliding out of some of those real life friendships, there's a whole Zoom full of women here who are ready to cheer you on and help you pursue your goals. So if you need to lean into your online friends a little bit while you're finding new in real life friends, who are on your same level, do that. There was a season of my business where I did that, where I literally was reaching out to sidelines because I didn't have a team yet. And I was saying, hey, do you want to partner up on this? Do you want to run an event together? Do you want to be friends? That's actually how Chandra and I became friends. We were originally sidelines several years back, and then she rejoined. Anyway, long story, but she was one of those people that I intentionally connected with because I loved her energy. And I was like, hey, let's do this together. So that's so important. And that really leads me to our last question in this. And Ashley, you touched on this, but how have you been intentional to do that? How have you been intentional to stay plugged in to the Plexus community and kind of fought back against that tendency that I know but you and I both have, to kind of self-isolate or pull back, or nobody's going to notice, especially when things get hard? How do you feel like you've been intentional to do that?
Yeah, that's definitely a tendency that I have. Like, I've said it a couple times the last few days, like, I am my own bestie. I'm complete. I don't need a lot of social time. So I can definitely isolate. And honestly, I think you have to know yourself and you have to know your capacity. And so if you know there are certain things like non-negotiables. So when I have plugged back in, or kind of re-entered a season of like, okay, I need to plug back in. I need to get it together, prioritize this. I just made it a priority, and I would just guard, knowing that the Zoom calls were coming, or knowing that we needed to plug into something or have that podcast time or read my book or whatever. So I would just try to, like, ration my energy, if that makes sense. Like, if I know I have a Zoom call, and I know that, like, that maybe it drains me in a way, or I know I'm not going to feel like it because it's the end of the day and I've been parenting all day, then maybe I'm going to give myself space at a different point in my day to relax and to chill, because I know at night, like, I need to be on that call. That is a priority for me. It's non-negotiable, but I also know I'm not going to feel like it. So what can I do to make sure that I am mentally prepared and I'm excited to be there, and give myself that break at another point in my day? And that's not, it's not perfect. Today was a slam full day. I didn't get that. But I think that more often than not, I'm just trying to pay attention. I know myself. I know what I need. I'm not bad or broken because I need more me time than maybe some other people do, but I have to manage myself and manage that and try to schedule that time for myself. I also know, like, if I am wanting to read a book or do a podcast, I try to challenge myself to do something like that every day. So whether it's reading a chapter of a book or listening to something, I try to look at my day and, like, okay, when I fold that laundry, I'm going to listen to this, or when I'm cleaning my house, I'm going to listen to this. I've been walking the last couple weeks, trying to walk every day. And so that has been when I walk, I'm listening to something. So I actually have listened to more YouTubes and podcasts the last couple of weeks. And it's funny how when you implement one new habit, typically, and if you read Atomic Habits or listen to it, this is something that they talk about, that if there's a domino effect and you can stack the habit. So if you have one good habit, like let's say y'all are drowning in laundry, okay? Um, if you're like, I need to get better at being on top of my laundry and I need to listen to a personal growth thing every day, do those together. When you fold laundry, listen to something, and then you've got birds with one. But to me, personal growth has just been a priority forever, and I will not sacrifice. I will not ever accept that this is as good as I'm going to get, and this is my peak. I want to be growing, and I think you have to commit to that on a very deep mental and emotional and spiritual level, that you are going to, and this is a spiritual thing too. We are in the process, if you're a believer, of sanctification, of submitting ourselves to God and saying, reveal to me what I need to improve on, create a clean heart in me. I want to honor you, Lord, with my life. This is the goal of my life, is to serve and honor the Lord. So if you have that same belief system, I hope that you do, but you are constantly evaluating not things that you suck at. It's not about being hard on yourself, but it's knowing that there is more for you and there's more for you to step into. And a lot of times that is not pretty and it's hard. And I'm not saying it's like a big Instagram highlight reel, but y'all just working on yourself every day as much as you can. Not every day is perfect, but as much as you can prioritize your personal growth, your spiritual growth, and just knowing that you have unlimited potential, right? You have so much potential, and none of us have probably even scratched the surface of what God wants to do with our lives. So to me, it is just a commitment that I have made. And as much as I can, have something that I am reading, that I'm working through, that I'm listening to. If y'all are like, I don't know, like, I think the danger is when you don't have something on the docket to read or to listen to. But if something has been sent to you to listen to, if you know there's a great training out there, if there's a book that has been recommended to you, always have something that you are about to begin and start and work on, and go into those things with a really open heart and mind, that maybe something would be revealed to you, that is going to be transformative for your life. And it's not all about plexus success. It's not all about that. You will be a better wife, a better mom, a better friend, a better everything when you are taking care of yourself and investing in yourself. You are the best thing that you can invest in. So again, soapbox, but
Oh, that's so good. I love what you just said about that too. It's like reduce the friction of those hard things. Like for so long, I didn't listen to podcasts because I was like, well, I don't really know how to work the podcast app when how
yeah.
hard, like I just needed to sit down in 5 minutes and teach myself. I just needed to take 5 minutes and go subscribe to these 5 people. And so when I open my podcast now, I can see the last 10 episodes from those 5 people and I play it when I'm doing my laundry. So it's just like taking that moment to reduce that friction for yourself so that you can be successful. And I wanted to speak to something you said too, just about kind of staying plugged into the community. And Stephanie is on here. And one of the things I would encourage you to, especially if you are newer, is like guardrail yourself against sinking into the shadows, and like having those seasons where it's really easy for you, especially if you're like silver or senior silver or even gold, and maybe you don't have a team under you that's depending on you. It's really easy. It's so easy for you to slink into the shadows and nobody's going to notice. I want to encourage you to guardrail yourself against that and make yourself known. When I first started, and I love Stephanie for this. Stephanie has never been pushy towards me. She's never been somebody who's just kind of been riding behind me and like kicking me, probably because she knows that I didn't need that because I took initiative. But I have never been afraid to reach out to her when I needed her. When I first started this, I'm sure she was like, who is this girl blowing up my phone? Like but that's what I knew that I needed for success. I knew that I needed to latch onto her because I didn't trust myself to hold myself accountable. So if that's you, like reach up and latch onto us. Like we want to coach you, we want to help you. And I kind of have that same approach with my team. Like I don't want to drag anybody to do this. I don't want to have to pick you up and drag you to do this. I am here for the coaching. I'm here for one-on-ones. I'm here for team calls. I'm here for it all. And I know every other jewel on this page feels the same way, but you've got to reach up and hold on to it. And that's to me what separates people who are successful in this. Like you've got to be willing to reach up and hold on and hold yourself accountable and guardrail yourself against slinking back into the shadows because it really is so easy to do that. All right, those are the questions that I had kind of for us tonight. Does anybody have any specific questions that you want to kind of unmic or drop in the chat and ask us while we're on? Or do any of the other jewels want to unmic and share a couple of thoughts? Because I know you guys have been in this for the long haul too, and we'd love to hear from you.
It's fun. Oh, sorry. Go on. Did someone else start talking?
Yeah, it was me, Noelle. I'll be real quick. I just want to say this real quick, just piggybacking on what you just said, Chels. I'm Stephanie. Chelsea's my level one. Ashley, thank you so much for doing this call for us. December was 10 years in Plexus for me. I've never been, I know there's not a lot of people on this call tonight that I don't know. So I'll just say this, like I was in law enforcement for 15 years. I have never been in a network marketing company, never sold a thing in my life. So I'm here to tell you, if I can be a diamond in this, every single person on this call can be. I just want to start with that. There were so many good nuggets that both of you all shared tonight, and I was trying to take some notes, and I feel like I could do a whole other call on this, but I just want to say, just share real quick a couple things, because I would love other people on this call to share as well. This business is a marathon, y'all. It is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. When I started this business in 2014, I told my husband, I said, give me 3 years. I had a goal of going gold in 3 years because my law enforcement certificate at the time in the state of Florida where I live, you have to renew every 4 years. And I knew I'd need like a year buffer to go get hired somewhere again if this thing didn't work. So my goal was to make like $700 to $1,000 a month in Plexus, and I averaged that to be like around a gold, maybe senior gold, paycheck. And I gave myself 3 years to do that. And I started at a time where social media was very different. And I'm not afraid to say like even easier at the time, because it was so, today it's changed so much, and I could talk and talk and talk about that, but we weren't inundated with being sold to, like our e-commerce and the way our consumer psyches work today. Like we weren't being inundated with ads 24/7 in 2013, 2014, 2015. So people in our industry came out and were posting about things. And I don't want to say it was easier, but I kind of feel like it was a little easier. There weren't as many, objections. It didn't take as long. And then we went into the whole, you got to create content and give value and be authentic and build a brand. And a lot has changed, right? During this time, I hit Emerald within a couple years. And I'm here to tell you that I did not see that coming, but my mindset was 3 years, give me 3 years. And I don't feel like people do that when they get into this. If they're not silver in a week, or if they don't hit gold within that first year or whenever, it's like, I'm done, And I feel like so many people put so much weight on social media, deeming them like their success in this, where it's social media is an amazing tool and we should all be using it, but it's way more than that. And that's a whole other, I feel like, training we could do. But I just want to reiterate, like, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And it is absolutely imperative for you to create a vision for yourself of, what could I do in this? What could this look like for me in 5 years or even 10 years? I don't think a whole lot of people think like that. For us, it's like, what's the incentive I can earn this month? What's the next, trip I can earn? And those aren't bad goals, don't get me wrong. But I don't hear too many people who are like, man, where could I be with Plexus 5 years from now? I'm here to tell you, I could have done 30 years in law enforcement and absolutely would not be making what I'm making as a jewel in Plexus, risking my life, doing all the things, not to mention the stress and my health and all that stuff that comes along with that. I would not be where I'm at today with 10 years in Plexus. So I just want to share that real quick, just to give some perspective. There is so much gold. There's so much value. There's so much in just saying, like, what is this? What does it mean to have a legacy business for me? And it honestly, having that mindset will allow you to have a little grace for yourself. If you don't happen to earn a trip, or if you don't happen to hit your month's goals or whatever, it's like, it's okay. I'm still here. I am the tortoise here. I'm still trucking along. Like I'm not, because I just see so many people, and I'm sure you do, Ashley and Chelsea, like Noelle, like Rebecca, other leaders on this call, like you just see people throw in the towel so fast because they're not checking that box. So I just want to say there's importance in goals, short-term goals, but there's so much power in managing your expectations in this, and absolutely just keeping that mindset that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I just really, that was on my heart to share that, but you guys shared so much good stuff tonight. So much.
That's so good. So good. Long-term mindset for sure. Noelle, did you want to share something? Was that you a while ago?
Oh, it was. We'll see if my kid's gonna be quiet. He was vomiting all last night, so he's a little needy today. I was just gonna piggyback on what you guys were saying about self-growth. Because I know that in Punta Cana, one of the girls was like, do 10 minutes a day. I'm sorry, I think 10 minutes a day is not enough. And you have to actually like make it a part of who you are. You have to study it. You have to believe it. You have to see yourself in it and apply it to your own life. Because I used to be like, oh, read a book, not remember any of it. The other thing is when Chelsea said, we're all here to coach you guys. From the day I joined, I stalked Stephanie, and I had a leaders mastermind earlier, and I told them this. It was my job to reach out to her. She didn't call me every day, like, what can I do for you today? And I got really excited, that a couple of my people have reached out to Stephanie. And it's like, it's your job to be coachable. It's your job to call Stephanie or call Ashley or call, Chelsea and Rebecca and say, where can I improve? Where do you see, like, because we want the best for you. We're not just telling you to do stuff because it feels good, right? Like if you're doing the same thing and not getting the results you want, it's because you have to shift those beliefs you have. And we all know that our seasons go up and down, but when you're down, lean into that self-development the most, because you're going to get in momentum again and you want to be ready for it. It's not about getting the goal. It's about growing into the person that has that goal. It's not about being a 5-star diamond or like getting that goal. It's you have to become a 5-star diamond. How does that person operate? How do they serve? Who are they praying every morning that they can serve that day? Because they weren't crushed because one person told them no. They were excited. I'm sure Stephanie still loves that I repeat on repeat that she saved my life, that Plexus saved my life, right? So if you're looking for that person that you can serve and change their life, it doesn't matter if you had a season where you didn't sign enough people, Let's look at this as a way to serve and grow into the person we need to be to impact the world one person at a time. All right, now I'm shutting up.
Noelle, you're like the perfect person to speak on that. And I'll just kind of close this out with that because I know we're running over our time, but that's one of the things, like, think about what the next version of you, what does Ruby Chelsea require? What does Emerald Chelsea require? What does Diamond Chelsea require? What kind of morning routine does she have? What's she listening to? How is she talking to her kids? How is she treating her husband? Like, how is she leading her team? How is she showing up on social media? And then work backwards from that. Like, that's the mindset that you need to have. It's not about the goal or even the why. You need to turn your why into who it is that you're becoming. Like, who do you need to become in order to make your why a reality? And I can't tell you like how many times I did that, especially in my early journey. Like, I would even do like team calls and I would practice before anybody would get on, and I would introduce myself as an Emerald Ambassador. I'm not a manifester. Like, I'm not manifesting truly, but that is how deep it would go. It's like, how is it going to feel to be able to get on this call and introduce myself as a jewel? How is it going to feel to be a true leader when there's 20 other people on this call and not just my sister joining, because that was the reality for 6 months. I did calls for my sister for 6 months, but just kind of stepping into that, like, who do I need to become and how can I show up as that next version of myself today, really has helped me a lot. Any last thoughts, Ashley, or anybody before we sign off tonight?
No, I was just writing down what you were saying, like the next version of what does it require? And I like, that is such a good thought. And like you just said, work backwards. And I'm reading and I was like, oh, I forgot to tell y'all about John Maxwell. Who hasn't heard of John Maxwell though? But he says, begin with the end in mind. So knowing where you want to go, I think that's so important. Just having a vision, right? Like, and I don't manifest either, Chelsea. I think we could that's another call for another time, but, vision though, for your life, a God-given vision. And I just, God has already put Plexus in your lap. I think it's a stewardship thing. I really do. But just vision and knowing where you want to go, and you are beginning your next day tomorrow, your work time, you begin with that picture in your mind, what that looks like, what that feels like, what it would mean for your family, what it would mean for the world around you. You will be unstoppable.
Jenny, did you hit something?
That's all I had. I was done anyway.
Well, Chelsea, can I say this real quick before you end it?
Uh-huh.
Because this is so important, you guys. And I don't know who said this, but I heard somebody say this years ago and it just stuck with me. Leaders who show up, grow up, or go up. So if you guys are not registered for convention, you need to go. I do not miss convention. I don't care where it's at. I am going to be there. I don't care if there's, the very first convention that I ever went to at Plexus was the first convention I ever met Noelle, who's my level 1. We hadn't even met, and it was, she's like, I'm coming. And I'm like, come on. I was like, we'll share a bed. And it was me and her and 2 other girls in a 2-bed, hotel room. And we just made it work. And then, when Chelsea joined me a couple years later, I had never met Chelsea. Chelsea and I were introduced by a mutual friend, and she's like, I'm coming to convention. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And she will tell you that changed everything for her. So I don't care like how you get there, or if there's 15 of you in one room, like just make it happen, you guys. Like go to convention. I just felt very compelled to say that. It will change so much for you. And so much of what these girls have shared about being around like-minded people and them touching on like motivation and inspiration, you guys will, your cup will be overflowing at convention. And it's a lot of times it's exactly what you needed to hear to come out of that and just kick the door in for your business this year. So please, please, please come to convention. And if we've never met and you guys are at convention, please, if we happen to be in the same place, please come up and give me a hug and like, let's meet, because Plexus people are my people. And I really appreciate you, Ashley, like bringing your team and us doing this. This is what it's all about, you guys. And raise your hand and let people know. I put that in the comments when they were talking about reaching up. There's nobody in my upline who's working this business. I reached out to Sonia Dudley, is a friend of mine. I'm assuming some of you guys maybe know who Sonia and Helen McFadden are in this business. I think I'm Sonia's level 8, and there's nobody working this business between me and Sonia. Me and Sonia do calls together because I'm like, Sonia, I need some help, sister. So don't be afraid, you guys, to reach out. Reach out to me. Reach out to Chelsea. Reach out to Noelle, Rebecca Simmons, who's another jewel on this call. Like this is the one Plexus culture. So I just want to say that. Come to convention. See y'all in Vegas.
Hey, Steph, I love that you said that, but I want you guys to take it a step further. And everything you do, think, I'm attracting what I am. So if you're not going to convention, you're going to attract a team of people who don't care to go. If you're not showing up for calls, you're going to attract people that don't show up. So just know whatever you do, you're going to be putting out there, and that's who you're attracting.
So good. So good. And all that comes back to like, what's the next version of the person you're moving into, and what kind of people do you want to be surrounding yourself with? More people who have that same energy. I love it. I'm going to see all 27 of us at convention together. It's going to be so much fun. Come sleep on my floor if you need to. And thank you, Ashley. This was so much fun. I'll share the recording with you. I'll have it up on my team YouTube page, but I'll share it with you tonight so you can share with your team too.
Thank you.
All right. Night, everybody.
Bye. Thank y'all.